If you don't know what you want, you have absolutely zero chance of getting it. So here we go. Everybody wants something. Everybody. A better job, a career, relationship, family, money, better homes, cars. I mean, you name it, we want something. Don't let anybody tell you that it is being selfish to want, because you can want, and we should want, things that will make our lives better, as well as making the lives better of those around us. So if our wants don't include the betterment of others concerned, now that may be a bit selfish. But as long as that want includes you and others as well, I think you're on pretty safe territory. Matter of fact, people try to bind you up and tie you up by saying this, and I know you've heard it. God gives you what you need, not what you want. That is simply not a true statement about God. It is an unfair statement to say that God gives you what you need, not what you want. Yes, the Bible does say that God shall supply all of your needs. That is absolutely true. It's in the scripture. We're not debating that. What I am suggesting to you is that you take everything into account. Your needs are supplied. That is a promise. But the Bible also says, delight yourself in the Lord, and the Lord will give you the desires of your heart. So the desires of your heart is another way of saying God will give you what you want. Yes, there is a contingency. Delight yourself in the Lord, and the Lord will give you the desires of your heart. Yes, the point I'm making is that the Lord does honor what you want. The Lord does acknowledge that you have desires. Spirit knows that you have wants and desires because we're created that way. There is nothing in us, about us, that Spirit, that God did not create. So we ought not to deny that. If we don't want anything, if we don't desire anything, then life is pretty boring. And not only is life pretty boring, you're pretty boring too. I mean, the person who has a personality that doesn't have any wants or desires has no energy, no, I like to call it bling in their personality. They don't have any of that. Let me tell you, that person's personality is like a bowl of dry grits. Why do you think that we try to look nice, ladies? Because we want to look nice. We want to look nice just because we want to look nice. That's why some of us wear makeup. That's why we do what we do to our hair. We either get a weave, get a wig, or fix what we got. We like to look nice. It is our desire to look nice. We clothe our body in things that we like because it is our desire. That's what we like to do. Don't get all hung up in, making it more than it is. A desire is nothing but a desire. A want is nothing but a want. If you put some selfishness in it, if you put some lust in it, if you put something that is inappropriate and wrap that around it, okay, you got something different. But a simple desire, a simple want, is just a motivating thing. It keeps us wanting actually to do better, to be better, to move ourselves to the next best level so that we can be our best self. So let's kind of let that go, that we're not supposed to have what we want. People that want nothing go nowhere. They just breathe. And if that's you, okay, but I'm suggesting that there is a better life, and that kind of involves wanting a better life. This is about why we don't get what we want. The reason, number one reason that we don't get what we want is because we don't know what we want. The second reason we don't get what we want is because we don't know what we want. Guess what the third reason is? We don't get what we want because we don't know what we want. Now, I said that to kind of, wake you up and kind of be funny. But when you ask a person what they want, if they have an answer at all, and we'll get to that, it's usually pretty undefined. And you can kind of tell what kind of baggage a person is carrying based on the answer that they give you in response to what do you want about this or that. So, for example, a person may be in need of a car, or they want a car. So you ask them what kind of car they want. And they may say, well, I just want something just to get me around. Well, that's pretty pitiful, because you don't need to pray for something to just get around. I mean, you can go somewhere and, you can get somebody to sell you something anywhere just to get around. Most of us want something a little better than getting around. And so you may really, in your heart of hearts, you really, really, really want this Mercedes. I can't remember. Oh, drop top. That you used to call them convertible tops, but they had this really slick term my husband uses, a drop top. So you really want this drop top Mercedes, but you don't want to say it because it may be immodest, or you may feel like it's too much. I shouldn't ask for that. I'll just take a little something, just whatever. No, listen. If you live your life taking a little something and just asking for a little something, then a little something is all you're gonna get. We don't get what we want because, number one, we don't know what we want, or we're not honest about what we want. But now let's rewind back to not knowing what we want. It has nothing to do with what we are entitled to. We're talking about want. What do you want? When we were children, and you ask little kids now, even though little kids now, I think they come here like really old, but you ask them what they want, they know. A lot of them know what they want to be when they grow up. Back in the day, it used to be, well, I want to be a fireman, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to be a doctor, whatever it is. Children have some concept of future and what they want. Now, it gets messed up and tainted, and they get discouraged as they get older. But the point is, without all the baggage, without all the stuff that we lay on people as they get older, and stuff has been laid on us, and God only knows why we lay stuff on other people that has been laid on us, stuff that has been put on us that has been burdensome. We just put it on the next generation without really even being fair in thought. I'm saying that in terms of when you want something, sometimes it is hindered by things that have been laid on you by other people, or fears of your own. That excitement that you had as a child about being this, or going somewhere, it kind of fizzled out. You fizzle out into the regular. And regular is good sometimes, but you don't want your dreams to die away. So what is it that you want when you're 20 and 20, 30 years old? People kind of don't know what they want because they're discovering that there's a bigger world than they knew. When you're a child, of course, your world is what's right around you, and the world revolves around you. But by the time you get, in your teens and 20s, you understand that the world doesn't revolve around you, and you've got to find your place in it. So finding yourself and knowing what you want and discovering your personality and your comfort level in this, that, and the other thing, and in various situations can be a challenge. So you may not have all those answers. When you get a little bit older, you need to be kind of narrowing things in a bit. But the point is, if you don't get a focus on what it is you want, you will simply just get older not knowing what you want. And the thing about not knowing what you want, and this is something that's I find I'm real sensitive about this. If you don't know what you want, there are other people out there who know what they want and will use you to get what they want. Not all bad people, not at all. Some people are just wired or been taught, or they've come from a different place, and they're moving forward, and they know how to accomplish, and they know how to chase success, and they know how to amass success and all of that. And sometimes using people is the way to get it. I'm not advocating that. I'm saying watch out that you don't get to be the used person. Because when you're not clear about what you want in life, it's easy for people to use you to their ends. They get what they want and you get what's left over. If you don't know exactly what kind of car you want, I mean, this is real simple. You know what kind of car you want? You go to the dealer and they are paid to sell you a car. And they don't care what kind of car you get. They're not concerned about matching you and your concern you with the right car. Their job is to sell you a car. They sell you the car based on the dealership that they work for. Okay, that don't work. Maybe we got some trade-ins in the back. We'll see if that works for you. The point I'm making, if you walk in not knowing what you want, you'll walk out with what somebody else wanted you to have. And the money's in their pocket. And you can apply that to any number of different scenarios. So if you don't know what you want, you put yourself in a position to be used by someone else. You can't get what you want if you don't know what it is, okay? If somebody else is using you and what you want is not, if you're not comfortable and confident enough to stand up for what you want, then you will be a pawn in somebody else's game. If you don't know what you want, you have absolutely zero chance of getting it, whatever it is. You can go day after day and be unfulfilled personally, yet engage in a lot of activity and things that just come your way, things that you just do, rote. You know, you go to work and you do this, you do that, then you get tired. Or you have lunch with this person, and you're not really spending quality time with yourself trying to discover that which you want. If you don't know what you want, you'll get what somebody else wants you to have. Or you'll get the residuals of what they got, and you get the leftovers. My father had a term. My father was a very, very deliberate, very intentional person. And I thank him and I thank the universe for that being in me. I am so serious about my work. I will focus on something. You can be sure that once I get into focus mode, by the time I come out, I know exactly to the detail what I want. I've got a plan for it. I don't mind changing the plan as I go. But as my son says, trust and believe. I got a plan of some kind. I know how to focus. I know what it is to live intentionally. I'm not going to wake up one day without having intention for that day. Think about it. Very few people can stand flat-footed. And that's the phrase my father would say. You stand flat-footed and you look that person in the eye and you tell them exactly what you want them to know. And I would watch him as a little girl. He would take me to church because he was on all these committees. And I would watch him run meetings and watch him interact with people. He was a realtor, and he would take me to his office, and I'd watch how he handled business. What he wanted to happen would happen. And people rarely questioned him. And I said to him, "How do you know so much?" He said, I don't know everything. But what I do know, I stand on that, and I trust God to give me the rest." I take that to heart. I live by that. Because if you show weakness, if you show uncertainty, somebody's going to swoop right in and take your life away from you. I'm not talking about killing you and shooting you down and none of that stuff. I'm saying that if you are not clear about your life, somebody will take your life away from you, and you will be a part of making their life. See, once you get focused, once you're intentional about your life, then things just don't happen. They just don't fall into your world. They come because you draw it. Some people have stuff in their life and say, "I don't even know how this happened. How did I get into this mess?" It comes like that. You get into a mess because you ain't paying attention, because you're not being intentional. And we're not intentional because we don't know what we want to be intentional about. You get up in the morning, brush your teeth, hook yourself up, however you're going to do it, and you go to work without a plan. What happens? You go by rote. You do your job, and you're sincere about your job. You do it honorably. So there's no time to think about you. You got to think about what you're doing. Then by the end of the day, you got to do things for other people. When do you take time to find out what you like? If blue was your favorite color when you were little, is that still your favorite color? It may be, and that's okay. But did you ever ask yourself that? What is the style that you like? Do you think about you? You must do that. You must do that. If you don't know, one thing I love about the millennial generation is that they ain't tied to nothing. And that's somebody would say, "Oh, well, that's a terrible thing." No, that's a good thing. Because in my parents' time and before, you get a job, you stay on it for 40 years, and you retire. And in those 40 years, you take whatever little raises they gave you, and whatever promotions you could get. But for the most part, they were just glad to have the job, and then they retired. Then my generation comes along, and we decide what we want to be, and we'll, do that. Maybe, we'll decide to change careers midstream with a great deal of anguish and trepidation and thought and prayer and, discussion with people. Listen, this is your life. You want to change careers, you can change it. That's what I love about millennials. They are not stuck with what other people say and do. They say, "Look, I don't like this, I'm not doing it. I don't like 9 to 5, I'm making up my own job." It's living without a fear. And even when they don't know what they want, they're not afraid to go find it. They're not afraid to explore life and discover what life is about. And my generation, and this is important. This is right on point in this subject. My generation, and maybe my children, I'm not sure, are looking at millennial behavior and thinking, not the security isn't there and the definiteness is not there. But you know what? It is there, because what we tend to hold on to may feel like security. And if you're not happy and you're sitting around not having the life that you want, what good is that? Life is about this long. This long. We got to do what makes us happy. We got to find happiness and joy in this life. Come out, break out of those old ways of thinking and ask yourself, what do I want? Because until you identify what you want, how can you get it? You decide what you want. That causes us to stir the energy and the motivation to move forward. Now you got a prayer. Until you know what you want, you don't have a prayer. All this, God help me decide. God don't want to help you decide. This is your life. It's called free will. God doesn't override our free will. It's free will. So if you have free will, nothing happens until you do something with it. Nothing happens until you make a decision. You make a decision or a choice, then you move forward in your life. But until then, it's just nothing. And then people wonder why they are not happy. One of the things that, and I wanted to continue with the millennial attitude, is that they don't mind making changes either. So if you try this and it doesn't work, you can change. You don't have to stay with something. You don't like the job? Get another one. You don't like what you've been educated for? Go to school and try something else. That's why they have accelerated degrees. That's why they got night school, online school, round the corner schools. All of however you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't have what you want, you have to decide